Hi, this is your instructor Michelle Anderson, and I'll be going through the Tutorial 1 case solutions today. First thing you need to do is open your data files. We're going to start with Tutorial 1 Case 3, which is the global file. And this starts in your book on page EX53. So we have our file here. And the first thing they ask you to do is rename Sheet 1 Production History. So to rename, we double click on the Sheet tab and just type in the requested name, which is Production History, and then hit Enter. It said to insert 12 new rows at the top of the worksheet. So I'm going to go over here in the row number area and click and drag the first 12 rows. Next, I'm going to right click and choose Insert, and that'll insert the first new 12 new rows at the top of the worksheet. It says increase the width of column A to 23 characters. That's step 3. And you can see that as you click and drag your pointer, right above that is a box that tells you how big or how wide, in this case, your column is. Honestly, I'm not really ever looking for exact numbers of a width. I just want to make sure that you know how to widen a column by clicking and dragging, to decrease the width of a column by clicking and dragging, and also to fit it for the best size by placing your pointer here on the line and double clicking, and it'll fit it to the longest entry in that column. So the book might ask you for exact measurements. Know that I'm never looking for an exact measurements. It says another thing in step 3, change the width of columns B through F to 14 characters. So you can highlight all these at the same time. Put your pointer on the right of there and click and drag to 14-ish. Close enough. Case 3, step 4. In the range B7 to F7, so we're going to click here in B7, it says enter the titles plant 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively. Honestly, I already have this right here, so I'm going to highlight it and click on copy and go to B7 and click on paste, and the information is there. Feel free to type it in if you choose. Alright, step 5, in the range A8 to A11. So we're going to put here, it says enter the title's total units produced, and in A9 average per month, in A10 maximum, and in A11 minimum. On to step 6, and you can see when it has Explorer next to this step, that means that the answers or those exact techniques might not be in the tutorial. You may have to do a little bit of exploring to get the answer there, and you can always do that by going up here on the right corner with the blue circle with a white question mark. If you click on that, that's Excel help, and you can always enter in some keywords, generally the technique name, in order to find some help on that if you can't find your help within the tutorial. So it's asking us to select the range B26 to F26, so B26 to F26, and use AutoSum to calculate the sum of the production values for each of the 5 plants. Okay, so you can see that it is here in this range, and then we're going to go up here to AutoSum and choose Sum. And I always tell my students to make sure and verify that the AutoSum did it correctly. So click on the cell and then look in the formula bar, and it says sum B14 to B25. If you hit F2 on your keyboard, it will give you a box around the range that you are summing. If that looks right, great, hit enter, you're done. If not, you can click and drag these corners to widen it or make it smaller so that it encompasses the proper range. It says next in step 7 to, we have to finish step 6. It says drag and drop the selected cells to the range B8 to F8. So what it wants us to do is highlight the same range, and then we're going to move this up here into row 8 where it says total units produced. And so you can do that one of 2 ways. You can cut and paste it up there. They said to drag and drop, and to move cells you need to place your cursor over it. You can see right now it's a white plus sign. When you can move something, it becomes this black 4-headed arrow, and now I can click and I can drag to move that content to another area. So now what they want us to do in step 7 is to do that same auto sum in this range, but instead of sum they want us to average. So we're going to click here and choose average. Okay? And then do the same thing, click and drag to move it up here next to the label that says average per month. Alright, we're turning to page 54 in step 8. It says to repeat step 7 to calculate the maximum, and then also do the same thing to calculate the minimum. So we're going to go here and highlight that same range, and we're going to do the maximum, move it up next to the label, do the same thing with the minimum, and then move it up next to the label. Alright, and so that should take care of the calculations in that worksheet. In step 9, it's having us entering some titles. In A1, it wants us to type global site GPS, A2 production report, A3 model, whoops, year, total units produced, and then in B3 map tracker 201 and B4 2013. So always good to have labels and titles in your worksheets so anyone looking at them, somebody who didn't create it, has an idea of its content. It says in cell B5, so right here, B5, use the sum function to add the values in the range B8 to F8. Okay, well we're going to do a sum function equals sum. Start your parenthesis. That allows you to just click and drag to select your range. If you don't have that parenthesis and you start to click and drag, it'll give you an error message. So you always have to do the equals sum, then start your parenthesis before you can click and drag to select your range. Know that you can always manually type it in as well. So as I do that and I visually check, it looks like I'm doing the right thing, hit enter, and I get the total 9678. Alright, so we're done with that worksheet. We've just finished steps 1 through 10. And on step 11 it says insert a new worksheet. This tab here on the bottom is our way to insert the worksheet. Click on that. We get a blank worksheet and they want us to name it plant directory. So we double click on the sheet tab, type in plant directory, and hit enter. Okay, in cells A1 enter global site GPS and A2 plant directory. It says in step 12 then to enter the information from figure 1-35 in the range A4 to D9, making sure that the address is entered on 2 lines within the cell. So that's kind of the technique that we're practicing in this step. And so I'm just going to do the first one. I'm going to enter in the titles. I'll show you how to get the 2 lines into one cell, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, so I'm just going to widen some columns so I have some room. So I'm going to do plant 1, plant manager Karen Brookers, and then the address is where we want the 2 lines within the same cell. So I'm going to type in 300 Commerce Avenue. Now I want to again go in the same cell, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and then hit enter. And what that does is it sends the cursor down to the next line but within the same cell. So now I can type in the city, Crestwood, Missouri 63126, and hit enter, and you can see now that this is one cell with 2 lines in it. And again, that's kind of the technique they want you to learn for this step. The rest is all just typing. So what I'm going to do instead is show you what the answer would look like when you're all done. So here is the plant directory worksheet, what it would look like when you're done. Production history we already finished. You can see I did a little bit of formatting here because it was ugly. And then steps 14, step 14 has you in creating a documentation worksheet, which is fine. You guys can easily do that. And then what they want to do in step 15 is go to production history and switch the page layout view to orientation to landscape, and then verify it fits on a single page. So go to page layout, click on orientation and make sure it's on landscape. And then here's the key. We want to make sure that when we print this, that it all fits on one page. The worksheets we're going to be using in this class should all fit to one page. And so make sure that you always do this. You can highlight where your data is. We can go to print area and set it. And then over right here is where you're going to fit it to one page. You're going to say the width should be one page and the height should be one page. And you can see here that it didn't have to reduce the scale at all. It's still going to print at 100% of the size. All right, they also wanted you to make sure that the order of the worksheets were documentation, plant directory, and production history. So in case you don't have the right worksheet order, you just click and hold on the worksheet tab and then drag and drop where you want that worksheet to be. Okay, click and hold, drag and drop. And that's it. This is what tutorial 1, case 3 should look like.